Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Optical View podcast. Today, I have on Fight Insight podcast. They cover mixed martial arts and combat sports. They are one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. They are different than any other podcast that I listen to in terms of MMA podcasts. Loved having them on. It was such a great chat. The gentleman I spoke to was, of course, here from Ontario. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for listening. I also wanted to mention the Optical View podcast is having its second award show September 30th in Bowmanville. Make sure you guys get tickets. Hi guys, and welcome to the Optical View podcast. I'm super excited here to have from Fight Insight podcast joining me. How's it going, Timmy?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I love your podcast. I love what you do and kind of everything. Now, before we jump into how you got started and really the whole story of how it came about, I have a couple quick rapid fire questions for you.
Let's do it.
Favorite genre of music?
Oh, geez. 80s pop.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Jeez Louise. My confidence.
Okay, I like that. All right. What do you think is the best gift that you've ever received?
My mom, God rest her soul. My mom, when I was a kid, I don't know, maybe around 12 years old or so, she gave me a Christmas gift, and it was a comic book. You know, comic books come in those comic book bags.
Yep.
But instead of a comic inside, it had 9 packs of these like Marvel comics cards that I had been starting to collect as a kid. And it had 9 of them in that comic book bag. I just always remember that gift.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I still have those cards right behind me. If you watch my podcast, they're in a binder, all perfect condition.
Wow. Are you a big collector?
Yeah, I got a bunch of garbage, like a lot of it. So yeah, all random stuff.
Okay. If a movie ever gets made about you, who would you want to play you in the movie?
Holy moly, this is a tough question. Keanu Reeves.
Ooh, okay. I like that a lot.
Yeah, we're both halvesies. We're both half Asian, half white.
Yep. Do you have a favorite quote? If you do, what is it?
I used to have a favorite quote. Where the hell did my favorite quote go? I will say rock bottom is the place at which I began to begin my life. I'm not saying it right, but Ronda Rousey said it one time, and I think she got it off of, I want to say Harry Potter or something like that. But rock bottom is the point at which I began my life.
Okay. Does that have significant meaning to you for some reason?
I just think, you go through ups and downs, and, I think it tells people that, look, when you hit a down in your life and when something bad happens to you, that's not the end, that's the start. Like whatever bad happens to you, it can only go up from there. And you need to remember that at all times, so that when bad things happen to you, you don't let it dwell, right? You just move forward.
Yep. Now, I asked you about what's your best gift that you've received. I'm gonna flip it around. What's the best gift that you've ever given?
Um, I guess I'll say the engagement ring to my wife. I designed the ring. I designed it and made it what I wanted. So it's very personal to me, and it means the most.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite tattoo either on you or on somebody else?
Yeah, I guess I have a tattoo across over my chest where my heart is. It's a star, and in the star is if you're looking at me and reading it, it says Tia, Tia. That was the name of my cat that I had for 18 years. And if I look down on my chest and I read the word and I read it upside down, it says RIP for rest in peace.
Oh, it's one of the ones that does both.
Yeah, yeah, I forget what you call it, not anagram or something, but it's some sort of thing where, yeah, if you read it upside down, it actually says a different word. Yeah,
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
yeah,
This next segment, it's this or that. Two options. You got to pick one.
got
Audio
it.
or podcast.
Sorry, say that again.
Audiobook or podcast.
Oh, podcast.
Hot or cold weather.
Cold weather.
Cats or dogs.
Cats.
Coffee or tea.
Son of a gun. Tea.
Morning or night person.
As I get older, morning person, but I'm going to say night.
Okay. Tacos or burgers.
Tacos.
Pancakes or waffles.
I just made waffles on the weekend, my friend.
Salad or soup.
Salad.
Okay. Apple or
Say that again.
Apple or Android.
Oh, Android. Fuck, are you going to kick me off the podcast now?
No, no,
Is
no.
that the wrong answer? That's a pretty bad answer.
Introvert or extroverted.
Extrovert.
Pizza or pasta.
Pizza.
Now I'm kicking you off the podcast.
Really? You son of a bitch. I don't know. I do like a good pizza. I made pasta the other night for my wife too. Speak of the devil, but pizza, man, I love pizza. When I was in Italy just last year, and I ate a lot of different pizza there.
Pizza's definitely the more common answer.
Oh, son of a gun! All right,
Yeah. I
sorry.
interesting in the fact that I had so much pizza when I was younger that I really don't have a desire for pizza.
Oh, you got to get to good places, man. You gotta find the good spots.
Yeah, but even you saying that doesn't excite me. Like if you were to say that about pasta, I'd be like, tell me that. But like I'm like, eh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
gotcha. I gotcha.
Well, let's get into it here, Timmy.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off here. What do you do and who are you?
Well, I am here because my name is Timmy B, and I'm the host of the Fight Insight podcast. We are um, a combat sports podcast. We talk about, mostly mixed martial arts, but we talk about Muay Thai and boxing and all that. And we are almost 3 years old. Never missed a week since we began. We are on episode 133, which I filmed right before coming on this call with you. And each week we have guests from around the world of combat sports, amateurs to pros. This week we had a gentleman out in Nova Scotia, East Coast Canada, who runs a fight fight promotion out there called Fight League Atlantic. Shout out to Derek Clark. And yeah, we talk about everything, man. If you don't like mixed martial arts, you will still enjoy our podcast because we're not too techy about it. We more talk about the fun stuff, and so that it can be open to everybody. But that's me, man, doing this podcast. That's me.
So I'm sure we're gonna dive deep on that, but bring me back to the very beginning and the origin story. You come up with this idea. Did you come up with this idea, and how did everything come together?
Yeah, I came up with the idea during pandemic. There was nothing to do. I train at a martial arts gym and had been doing that for a long time, or a lot of my life. I was in martial arts, but during when the pandemic hit, there's nothing to freaking do, man. And we were all segregated and separated from one another. And a guy that I trained with at the gym, he was always wanting to do something in like media and entertainment. And I had been guest co-hosting on a comic book podcast from my local comic book store, and I really liked it, but I always wanted to kind of be the guy in control of it. And so we decided, you know what, let's friggin' start a podcast. I mean, anybody can start a podcast. You know what I mean? Like anybody can do it. But we thought it was just going to be something for fun. And then next thing you know, we started getting UFC fighters coming on as guests. And we were like, holy crap, like we're actually doing this. and it never stopped. We ended up we were on cable television on Filipino TV for about 8 months during the pandemic as well. Like we took our podcast to television and we were doing that. My co-host has since left me. I got a different co-host for a while. That co-host left. Now I'm on to my third, I want to say permanent co-host. Shout out to Rain Cruz, Ringside Rain, who joined maybe a couple months ago, and things have been going amazing. I would say the podcast is getting better and better as we go on. That's for sure. Things are growing and changing. Yeah, that's it. So it was out of boredom, and now it's out of passion, and now it's out of I just can't stop.
That brings me to kind of the first question here, and I'm curious because I know how it was for me. How were the first couple episodes for you, and what have you seen in terms of the biggest growth for not only your podcast but for how you actually operate it?
I think getting a little bit technically better with just the sound or the camera work and stuff like that, in terms of getting a better quality camera and things like that, lighting, even the background, like what appears in my background and how I look on screen. I think that was important to me to get better over time. That has been getting better now, mind you. My internet connection and stupid my house is always a little bit iffy, so I've been having some problems of late, with like a little bit of audio lag and stuff, so that kind of bothers me, because our podcast is audio and visual, right? Like you can find us on YouTube and Spotify video. So I do like the video component to be good, but that's something I'm working on. If that answers the question,
For
I
sure.
apologize. Yeah.
And now, in terms of I guess the different co-hosts that you have had,
Yeah.
let's start off. I mean, without being too blunt or rude about it, what happened to them, and why did the turnover?
Um, I don't think we ever meant for it to be what it became. And not that it became anything, but I think we were doing it out of like boredom and just having fun and thinking like, oh, this is kind of cool and fun to goof around with. But as it got on into about a year and a half in and never missing a week, mind you, like I'm the guy that does all the recording and the posting and the technical stuff. So if I'm gone, it doesn't run. But my co-host, bless his soul, he never missed a single week. Like I don't know how we did it. If we were going to be on vacation, we would record two in one weekend. We would release, accordingly, so that we didn't miss a week for the people that were listening. Over time, though, about a year and a half in, man, it is tough to stick around. I don't know if you know the stats, but it's like 99% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes.
Yep. Yep.
So we were at like episode 70 something. And eventually, I think he kind of just lost the passion for it. A lot of work goes into it, man. Like you got to be freaking, busting your butt with promoting it and engaging with people online. And, I don't know about you, but, I'm big on Instagram, but then, you got to give some love to the TikTok, and you got to go on Twitter, or X or whatever the hell you want to call it. But, and then you got to post on all the multiple socials and be engaging and create new content, like creating content constantly. If you're not ripping shit off of people, I apologize. Can I swear? It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I've already sworn a few times. If you're not ripping stuff off of people, which is the easiest way, it's a lot of time. If you're going to create true content that is like unique to you, it's a lot of work. And so I think it just kind of burned him out after a while. And I think he just kind of wanted to do something else. Which, happy for him, man. Like, but I just kept going.
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel that especially. I mean, it's almost I always kind of joke around, right? It's almost enough work for like a full-time job, right? I can see
Oh yeah.
in certain podcasts they have somebody who does whatever, whether it's a social media manager or content
Yep.
manager or whatever. I 100% get it.
Oh yeah, if I could get if I could get an intern, like I've talked to a few kids that sometimes like that were interns at like schools and stuff, and I was like, hey, if you want an intern for me, and that that's going to count as your credit or whatever, and you want to help me run this shit, and you want to help me edit some of the videos, or post some content, or the big thing for me is like clipping things out of my podcast, like it. it's one thing for me to upload the podcast every week, but then like, I try to create at least a couple of reels
Yes.
from the episode, and that means I got to cut and I got to edit and I got to make that into a digestible format. And then I normally like to take like a very cool quote from the episode and I make like a nice little post that's got their quote and their picture, like it makes it look cool.
Yeah.
But that stuff takes time, man. It takes a lot of time. And so that's, it really is a lot. And yeah, could this be a full-time job? Hell yeah, it could be a full-time job. No problem. If you know any multimillionaires that want to support me, I definitely give them my number.
Right after I give them mine, I hope.
Oh, okay. All right. Fine.
But I feel you for sure. I mean, you talked a lot about the passion. I mean, I know for me, and there was a little bit of growing pains and learning what my why was. I mean, what is your why? Why do you continue to do this and be so consistent every single week?
Um, so my why is to give people an outlet to promote themselves or to tell their story. Like, I know that I'm not that big. I know that, that I don't get, the mass viewers or whatever. But what I am really proud of is when, UFC fighters, their moms will message me and be like, that's the best interview I've ever seen my daughter do, you know? And I've got that a lot. Like, you'd be amazed at how many moms have messaged me from UFC fighters, saying that they were so proud of their daughter on the podcast and stuff like that. Fighters themselves, or managers, um, individuals will contact us. I just had one recently where the person posted like quite a complimentary post about me on their Instagram, and it literally like brought me to almost tears, because I'm like, this is why I do it. The guy posted and said what a fantastic time he had on our show and how nice it was for him to be able to tell his story and whatever. And it was just so meaningful. And then when I see posts like that, or I get messages like that, that's when I know, like, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm not stopping yet, because I always think, like, when am I going to end this? But when I get those messages and I realize that I'm making people feel good and doing some sort of good in the world, in this crazy world that we live in, where I give them some sort of like positive experience and let them, I always like to ask people questions that they don't normally get asked. Like, you're never going to get a fighter come on my podcast and I'm going to be like, so tell me, how are you training for this upcoming fight? How do you think you're going to win? Like, I never ask that stuff. It's always something out of the blue, always something that's different or as unique as possible as I can, because I figure, like, you don't want to come to my podcast and hear the guy talk about the same thing you just heard him talk about on another show or on another interview. So yeah, and I try and make those experiences unique for people, and that's my why.
Now, do you only do, I guess, kind of big fighters, or do you do local fighters as well?
No. Like, if I could only, well, I guess here's the thing. If I could only do big fighters, that would be cool. But in reality, what am I going to ask John Jones about?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it'd be cool to have him on because it's John Jones, I guess. But what am I going to ask him that you don't know? Like, what am I really going to get out of this guy? And then how engaged will he be? No, I have fighters that are amateur fighters, like local house show fighters, um, coaches, nutritionists, Muay Thai fighters, which Muay Thai, maybe a little bit less popular, right? But like lion fight, Muay Thai fighters, and then it's bare knuckle fighters. Not a lot of people love BKFC. Do you watch BKFC?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. God damn, BKFC is the greatest. I love it so much. And I've had a lot of their fighters on, and when I do have those fighters on, I don't get as much engagement sometimes from the fans, because I think that it's not the big thing. But no, I no, anybody, from UFC fighters to a local guy that's fighting in his local gym house show tomorrow. Like, I will have anybody on. As long as you're an interesting, cool person and you have a cool story to tell, yeah, come on the show. And if anybody listening to this podcast, you meet that criteria, reach out to me and let's get you on the podcast. 100%.
Now I'm so curious, how do you pick who comes on? Because obviously lots of different people that want to be on, and I'm sure you want have a lot of different people on as well. How do you narrow down who actually gets to come?
Okay, to be honest, people aren't knocking down the door to come, you know. I have been lucky enough to make friends with several managers in the business based on, having their fighters on the show and stuff like that. So oftentimes I will get managers that say, "Hey, I've got this kid that's fighting. I've got this girl that's fighting. Can you get them on your show to help them promote?" Or, "Hey, this person's like a new young fighter and they need some experience being interviewed. Can they come on your show?" So I'm really happy when that happens. Aside from that, I'm trying to book people out probably a couple weeks in advance. So I'm normally not double booked per se. I like to have one guest per show.
Mm,
I've had multiple guests per show when I have to because of scheduling. Like if two fighters have their fights coming up, like in that next week, and then they both want to get on, I'm not going to turn anybody away, of course. But normally I book it out. And in terms of like how do I prioritize? Mm, Most people are pretty cool at being a little bit flexible with schedules, and I also have a lot of feelers out to my future guests so that I kind of say to them like, hey, I'm looking to have you on maybe in a couple months. You cool with that? And they'll be like, yeah. So then I've kind of got that name and I can kind of fill them in where I need to. Like coming up, obviously you watch UFC, right?
yep,
So I have the head physical therapist that works at the UFC PI in Vegas.
yep.
I have her like ready to go,
Mm,
but we're saying it's going to be September. So I know I've got her kind of booked out for then. So when those weeks kind of come in, I can kind of slot her around like whatever other guests I have. So I try to do it like that. It's a constant juggling act though. It's a good question.
yes. And I know you spoke a little bit about this, but I'd love for you to dive in on it. What kind of separates you and your podcast from other fight podcasts?
Well, it's the goddamn best podcast that you're not listening to. I'll tell you that. Like, um, I think what makes mine a little bit different is it's real. It's asking questions that you don't normally see. I don't take the same look or angle at things that other people do. I'm a little bit more mature in age, I will say. So, um, maybe my years of experience or my years in martial arts, I look at things a little bit different, you know? So I don't want you to come and listen to my podcast if you share every single opinion that I do, because then there's no freaking fun, right? Like I want you to come to the podcast and go, well, I don't agree with Timmy on this. Like this guy's an idiot. Like what the frick? But I can probably articulate my point at least in a way that you can be like, okay, well, I understand where he's coming from. And I like to kind of stir up that, like I like to have people talk about uh I like when people engage with me and go like, I can't believe you said that on the podcast. Like, how could you have believed that? Or how could you like this? Or how could you hate that? Um, so, if you want someone that's got a unique take on things, I think my co-host, especially right now, Ringside Rain, she's very cool. She's a ring announcer, and she's out in California, and she's the ring announcer for Up Next Fighting. It's a local promotion out there that does amateur and pro fights. UFC fighter Ashley Evans Smith is one of the commentators there, and the Schmo is also there. So she's hooked up with a really cool organization there. She brings in a real good energy. She's very to me, she's the perfect co-host. No offense to everybody else I've had, but she's the perfect co-host. She's energetic, she's positive, she's got a great voice for podcasting. Obviously, she's an announcer, but I think the vibe and the energy is good. So it's like you're really listening to like two people just have a good conversation. It's not boring. The guests that we bring on are probably not people that you're watching a lot of, to be honest. Like, you know, last week we had the owner and founder of Sucker Punch Management, who manages like all the fighters,
Yeah.
right? So we had him on, Brian Butler. We've had Bobby Green. Bobby Green does no interviews, you
Yes.
know, and we had him come on the podcast, and his interview was insane. BKFC champion, BKFC champions, BKFC fighters that probably don't speak to. I spoke to a guy a couple of weeks ago. He's a South African fighter. He's friends with Dricus du Plessis, who is in that kind of rivalry with Adesanya about being a white South African. And we were able to talk to him about it because this BKFC guy, is a Habsy as well. And so I think his mother is white and his father is black. Um, and so he came from at it from a very unique angle, but we try and get people on that have good conversations, things that you're not hearing everywhere else. Like I'm not giving you fight picks every week. Give me a break, right?
Yeah.
Like that crap is so boring to me. So I try to put on a show that I would want to listen to myself. And I think, give us a shot, give us a chance after your show, of course, right? So people are going to listen to your show and then come over and listen to mine. But um, you know, I think you give it a try, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I want to touch on your co-host, but one second, I want to make something very prevalent here. I mean, the thing I love about the podcast space, and you touched on it, is that anybody can do a podcast, right? So if you have something that's good and you're interested in that, go over to that podcast, right? Like it's the podcast space is big enough that if somebody's doing something good and somebody's doing something incredible, then you'll naturally gravitate toward that podcast, right? So
Yeah,
as much as I've had on plenty of different fighters, stuff like that it's a little bit of a demographic, right? So
yeah,
if you're somebody who just enjoys fighting, hey, come on over, go listen to your stuff, right? Mine's still gonna be here no matter what,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Enough space that I'm gonna win and you're gonna win too, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course, dude.
oh,
Yeah, I don't listen to too many shows, but I'll tell you, I've got way more time in my life to listen to more shows. If I found shows that I really liked, I've got a lot of time in. Like, you commute to work every day, or, you've got some time while you're at the gym or whatever. Like, there's a lot of time in our lives. And it's like, why not listen to a podcast rather than music? You know
yes,
what I mean? Like, why not listen to something that makes you think, that makes you, question something, or learn something, right? Or laugh. You know what I mean? Like, why not listen to something, or listen to people having a conversation rather than just listen to music? Like, I don't know. I just find like I'm always looking for something interesting to listen to because I want to hear cool conversations and I want to learn something. That's what I aim to bring you.
yes, I love that. Now let's talk a little bit about your now current co-host. How did
Yeah.
you getting her in to be now your co?
So so Ringside Rain Cruise, she was someone that I had been watching on Instagram because I came across her profile and I was like, oh, this is really cool. She's like a young Filipino girl who's announcing. She announced at WWE SummerSlam a few years ago. Like, she won a contest to be the announcer at WWE SummerSlam for an event. So I was watching her, and then I was like, all right, this is really cool. This young girl doing something that's unique. And I've had other announcers, like up and coming announcers, on our show as well. And suddenly one day she posts that she's the announcer for Up Next Fighting in California. And we had just had some fighters from Up Next Fighting on. And I'm like, holy crap. So then I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you like to be a guest? Because I'd love to meet you and you can explain your story. Have her on as a guest. She's incredible. Her energy is great. And then I think it was like the week after, my co host at that time decided to step away for a bit, or to step away. So, as I often do, I reach back to some of my former guests to see if they'd be interested in, guest co-hosting for a week or whatever. And then when I got to Rain, it clicked, man. It was good, and thankfully, she's agreed to keep coming back. So, I mean, I don't know that she's like my official co-host. Like, I don't know how you. It's weird to kind of like, I don't, like, how do you propose that to someone? You know what I mean? Like, because that, like, what is this, right? It's just, hey, can you come back next week? Okay. And then the next week you're like, hey, can you come back? But she's doing a fantastic job. I really enjoy having her on, and she's been a great addition to the show. The feedback from the listeners, but also the guests, say that she is incredible, and so I'm happy. And if she'll keep coming back, I'm more than happy.
I love that. Now, who is your audience and your demographic? Because as you mentioned, it's not just fight fans. So if you pick an audience and demographic, who is it?
I don't know, man. Who is it actually, or who do I want it to be? I don't know. For the most part, obviously, it's people that watch the fights, and I find that my audience can change quite a bit from week to week based on the guests that I bring in. Some guests bring with them quite a large viewership based on them alone. Um, but I think it's just anybody. It's got to be people obviously that enjoy combat sports. So you're probably looking at males for the most part between the ages of 16 to 35 or 45, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's fight fans, right? Like fight fans are probably the people. But yeah, it's just a constant battle, dude, to find viewers.
Now I'm gonna ask you a hot take here and put you on the hot seat here.
Yeah,
In your opinion,
pasta.
is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a combat sport?
No, it is not. Fuck off with that. I'm so that's that. I don't know. Are you asking me that because you know that I'm embroiled in battles with people online about this?
I mean, I wouldn't say yes. I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, no, it is not a combat sport. Give me a break. Like you're not hitting. You're not. There's no striking. There's no damage being done. I don't think it's called a fight. Like one FC has like a BJJ match in the middle of their in the middle of their card, and my wife like gets mad at me. She's like, "What are you watching? Why are these guys wearing their shirts?" Like it's just so weird. It doesn't fit um on in that it's not a fight. The fact that you're just going to scoot around on your bum and try and grab the guy and whatever, it's good, it's competition. I'm not saying and you have to be strong as hell, you have to be fit as hell, you have to be a damn good athlete. You have to have that killer instinct and all that, but it's not a fight. Is it a well, hold on, I'm saying it's not a fight. You're asking me, is it a combat sport? Well, I guess not then, right? But then I say that we're a podcast about combat sports and I do have BJJ people, so maybe I'm being a little bit hypocritical. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because I have had a guy. Well, no, see, but I had a guy on. I'm thinking one of my very first guests that I had on was a guy who competes in combat jujitsu, which
Mm,
is, the jujitsu where you just slap the person in the face.
yeah.
That's combat. That's a combat sport for sure. Because you're getting hit. You can get knocked out in that, dude.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So my
Yeah,
follow-up
no.
question to you is then, right? What to you makes something a combat sport or not? Is it the art of hitting somebody?
I I guess. Well, I would rephrase the question to say, what makes something a fight? But I guess that's synonymous with combat sport.
Like,
But if I'm answering the question like what is a fight? Yeah, I would say where you can get punched and kicked in the face, like where there's a chance of getting knocked out from a strike versus choked out from a
have you
hold.
done judo?
Have I done judo?
Yes.
No, not at a judo place. No. Why? You're gonna say like a throw?
Oh, I was gonna say people get knocked out in throws all the time.
Sure, a throw. Okay, well, that's a little
And
bit
then
different though. A
it,
throw, yeah, but nobody's getting knocked out in a jujitsu competition from a throw per se. I mean, I guess you could, but that's not like the point of it. Whereas judo, that kind of is the point, right? Um, yeah, that's a tough angle, but like
I didn't
judo, yeah.
mean to throw you on the hot seat. I was just curious. Your
No, no, no. I mean, the I appreciate you bringing it up, but the Timmy B take is that jujitsu is not a fight, and get it off the goddamn one FC cards. I don't want to see it there. Put it on the prelims, early prelims. Then that's fine, but don't have it as the co-main event sandwiched between two MMA fights.
and now you also said you train as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Less now as I get older, and other things take precedent. But yeah.
What did you primarily train in?
So I grew up, started doing martial arts more when I was in university. And I was doing Filipino martial arts, or FMA, which is Jeet Kune Do, which is the Bruce Lee martial art, Eskrima or Kali, which is the sticks, fighting
Yep.
with the sticks. Like if you read comics, it's what Nightwing uses, and knife fighting. So that was what I was doing for a long time. So knife fighting, Kali, Eskrima, and Jeet Kune Do, and then took a little bit of a break. And then when I got to my new gym, the one that I'm at now, I was focused mostly on MMA class, which they had an MMA class. but it was also a lot of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing. So it was kind of all those disciplines. But then we had an MMA course who I found out my instructor was actually a UFC fighter. I did not know this for the longest time. He was a scary dude as hell, but he was a Canadian UFC fighter, and he was the guy that was teaching me for a long time.
Can you say his name or no?
Yeah, yeah, it was Sean the Punisher Pearson.
Oh, I know
Yeah,
Pearson. Yeah,
what's that?
I know Sean Pearson. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know him personally, or you know of him? You mean?
I've met him a few times. I
Oh,
mean, when I probably don't think you know who I am, but yeah. So Sean Pearson, I'm not sure how much of this you know, but it's kind of funny. So the way that I train from a place called Rebel Alliance.
okay, okay.
That's like Justin Buckman, Antonio Carvello, Sean
Yeah,
Pearson, Adrian Woolley,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
Monkey, all those guys.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so Sean Pearson, yeah, scary as hell, dude. Uh, I didn't recognize him because he had a beard when I went into the gym. And of course, you don't expect to see a UFC fighter, at your local gym. Like, I guess I never thought it was him. And, training with the guy. And this was when he was still, I think he was kind of just coming off what would be his last fight. But training with him, and the dude was tough as nails. Like, he was a hard dude, and his classes were incredible. But I loved it. And one day I'm in the change room and I'm dying, like I'm aching in pain all over. And this guy comes into the change room and he's like, "Hey man, good class today." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "God damn, that coach, I don't even think I knew the guy's like name, like even first name." I was like, "Ah, god damn, that coach is killer." And he goes, "Yeah, man, I've been with him ever since he got into the UFC." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you mean got into the UFC?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Sean Pearson, man, UFC." And then so I run home and I'm Googling who Sean Pearson is. I'm like, "Holy shit, Sean Pearson, like I know this guy." Yeah, and it was so funny because he just looked so different with the beard. So you didn't recognize him. But yeah, so I trained with him for quite some time. He was great. And yeah, that's it.
I'll never forget the first time I met Carlos Newton in person,
Yeah.
because Carlos Newton in person didn't look like what I thought he was going to look like, right?
How so?
He was just very different body shape. Uh,
Okay.
he was much older,
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I mean, when you see these guys competing, they're usually, in the tip top best possible shape of their life that you can't maintain 365 days of the year. But for me anyways, my brain didn't go, that's not how he looks all the time, right? So when I met
Yeah.
him, it was a little, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I almost had to because I met him actually at a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I had to do a little bit of a double take, and I was like, it is. Oh, cool, right? Like, it was a very interesting dynamic of going, oh wow, that's very interesting, of the person that, I grew up watching to the person that he is now. And he's such an incredible person if you've ever met him. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I've heard nothing but great things about him. He's a legend, man.
yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
The reason I asked you if you trained anyways is I want to know this. Do you think that your background of training has helped you with the podcast, and how to interpret some answers and ask questions?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. No, you can't be doing this. Yeah, no, you can't be doing a podcast and not have like a knowledge of what some things are, or what it feels like to be put in different situations or positions, or get hit, in different ways. No, it definitely adds to it. Do you need to? For sure, no. Like, you don't have to, but I think, you know, different fighters or guests that I've had on will ask, "Do you train?" And I feel like if I were to say no, I feel like that could change the vibe of like, it could change the vibe of the interview pretty quick. I think, like, that would be like interviewing someone, an actor for a movie they did, but you don't watch the movie. You
Yeah.
know, um, I That's probably a bad analogy, but like, you got to be knowledgeable about what the hell is going on, right? And you have to understand it. So no, definitely training is a key for me in being able to put out the show I want.
Well, let me ask you then, kind of based off of that then. I mean, what are some of the most, trying to think how I can word this properly, some of the most intriguing but different answers that you've ever received, any type of question that you've asked?
Man, that is so hard. I'll tell you, there's been like some crazy things over the years that people have said and stuff like that. I think one recently would be where he just made his UFC debut. The guy's name is Basil Hafez. He lost to Jack Madalena on like a 3 days notice, but he put on what was a fight of the night. I think it might even be rated fight of the month by UFC. But he came on and he talked about, when you talk about like manifesting your dreams, like you hear about that all the time.
Yep.
So he talked about how when you say manifesting your dreams, and I'm quoting him, so don't, Basil, don't come and beat me up. But he said that, when you think about manifesting your dreams, people think you mean like airy, like magic fairy crap, and that you're like somehow like speaking it into the world and then it just magically happens. And he's like, that's not what manifestation means. He goes, manifestation is that you picture yourself in the moment so often and so regularly and with such detail that when you achieve that thing, you are prepared for it and you are ready, and that when it happens, you perform at your best and you are not shocked and you do not mess up. And that's what manifestation is that you're preparing your mind to be ready for when that moment comes.
Mm.
And I thought that was a really crazy friggin' answer that he gave that I was not ready for. Um, it was crazy. I'd never heard something phrased like that. So I would say that is probably the coolest answer to a question. I also ask all of my guests just recently, maybe. It's in honor of my mother that passed away. She used to ask me as a child all the time growing up, like almost every day growing up, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And so I use that as my last question for every guest. And the answers to that have been pretty crazy. You would not think so. You would think that people are just going to give you a number or something like that and go, "Well, I'm a 9 because, I won my fight 2 months ago," right? Or something like that. But they give deep, deep answers. It makes them pause. It makes them really question how they want to answer that. Very few people will give me a number and that's it. And when they do, I'll say, like, okay, well, how'd you come to that number? But I don't even have to normally prompt people for that. They get so um, interested in how they want to answer that, and for that moment to think about, like, wait a second, how happy am I get some really cool answers. And shit, not to give the same answer here, but the way that Bobby King Green answered that was amazing. I loved it. It was very, very cool. But yeah, every answer that I get from that question every single week has been killer.
Mm.
So I look forward to that every time.
I love that. It's funny, at the end of my podcast, I ask all my guests 3 questions as well, and
Okay.
that's usually one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part, because the same thing is that every answer is different. I have never
Yeah.
received an answer that is the same,
Yeah. There
right?
you go.
It's incredible, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 70 something deep in. I think I'm 79 or something. This might be 80, or I'm not sure exactly, but I've done well over 75.
Hmm.
Every single answer has been different.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And you were talking before about like how does your show grow and stuff like that. We've done so many different like things in the show. Like we used to have like a fight on site where we did like a dream fight kind of thing scenario, or a blah blah blah. And they come and they go, right? Like you try some things out and you got to commit to it for at least a little while to see if it works. But then you kind of dump it, then you do something else, you kind of dump it. But right now, aside from some other things that I'm doing right now, I've got that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And I'm really enjoying that. I like it a lot.
I love that. Now, I get asked this a lot. I have to ask you because you have more episodes than me. Top 3 episodes.
Top 3 episodes?
Top 3 episodes.
uh in order, or can I just go all over the place here?
Just go all over the place.
All over the place. Okay, so top three, for sure. I am going to say that I'm so sorry. Uh, this is like the worst way to conduct an interview, But I would say the Bobby Green episode, 1,000,000%, because he is my favorite fighter of all time. He never does interviews. I ended up getting him through a friend of his that was enjoying my podcast, knew that I love Bobby Green, and this kid made it happen somehow. I woke up one morning, uh, I was leaving for Italy in like a week with my wife, and I wake up one morning and it says Bobby King Green has tagged you in a video, and I go to his Instagram story, and there he is driving in his car, talking into the camera with my Instagram handle plastered across the screen, saying, "Fight Insight Podcast. I heard you're looking for me. Let's do a podcast. Get me on your show." And I'm like, "What the?" I couldn't believe it. Like dying. You know what I mean? Like, favorite episode for sure. Probably one of the favorite moments of my life, in all honesty. Like, that was just crazy. So I would say that definitely is one of my favorite episodes. I would say another one is probably do you know Commander Dale Brown from Dust?
No.
He's the guy that does all those self-defense videos that people
Yes.
always make fun of.
Yes.
Okay, the guy that raises his eyebrow like The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah. Me and him have become good friends. I had him on the podcast a few years ago, and I didn't know. I thought the dude's fake, right? Like I thought he's fake,
Yeah.
but he's real as anything. He became a good friend of mine. I had him on the podcast, I think in January of this year, after there was that stuff with him and Sean Strickland getting into a fight at a gun store.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he actually reached out to me after that happened and said, "I want to come on your podcast to talk about it."
I love it.
So I had him on the podcast. He is the coolest dude. Had him on the podcast. We talked about that. And then as a result of that podcast, Sean Strickland started posting our podcast and a clip on it saying how he was going to beat him up in a desert to the death. And if you watch the Sean Strickland, videos and stuff that he posted, there I am, interviewing Dale Brown about this, and so there I was on Sean Strickland's Instagram and or on his stories and stuff, and talking about that. So I thought that was pretty freaking cool. Um, boy, oh boy, and then another favorite podcast. So many. Like I've had movie stars and TV stars and stuff like that. Bop, 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 bop. I guess I would say probably another very memorable one. I do. Okay. Honorable mention. I do want to give a shout out to Brian Bam Bam Barberena. He's a UFC fighter, killer veteran. He's been on the show like 8 times.
Nice.
So that dude is a great friend of mine. I love that guy, and every episode he's on is cool. Third, another favorite one, maybe Ricky Tercios. He was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter
Yep.
a few seasons ago, and he came on and was insane. That dude, amazing, amazing dude, great person, great personality. Read us some sections out of the journal that he was keeping while he was on the show, and he's just an extremely positive and motivational guy. So I really liked him. I learned a lot from him. He was a cool dude.
Was he the gentleman who, after he won that fight, he went on a big?
Just recently, and he did that motivational speech.
Yeah.
And that everybody on their Instagram has as a reel and a movie because they put it in black and white and they put music over it. And yeah, that dude.
I love that. That was a great fight too, actually.
Yeah. Oh, he's incredible. He's amazing. And he's a fantastic dude.
Is
Yeah.
he 135?
Good Lord, don't ask me that. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I feel like he might be.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm trying to wrap it up here, but I got so much things to ask you. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker here. What goals do you see for yourself and for the podcast moving forward?
I don't know, man. I want to keep doing it until I don't find like I'm enjoying it anymore. That day could come tomorrow. But I don't know. What goals do I have for the podcast? I want to keep doing it and keep enjoying it, keep having fun, and keep meeting cool people. I would love to have Rain as my co-host for a long time in the future. It just makes my whole life easier if I have a co-host that I don't have to book every week as well as guest. The goal really would be to leverage this into something in the mixed martial arts space. I would love to commentate for a promotion. I think I may be doing my first commentating, not maybe the whole event, but at least for a few fights coming up September 30th. I think I'm lining something up there. So I'd like to kind of leverage, the connections I've made or the experience that I've had on the mic, on television and whatever. But I would love to be able to kind of transition into a commentary type role. That to me, that would be the dream. And then if I keep the podcast going along at the same time, sure, I can do that as well.
I gotta ask you and give a bit of a shout out to my guy fighting September 30th. Is that WBC, the Muay Thai event?
No, it's out on the East Coast, Canada. It's for Fight League Atlantic. I'm hoping to commentate there, Nova
Yeah.
Scotia.
Okay. I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a buddy, a friend of mine and former guest who's fighting September 30th. That'd be pretty cool if
Yeah, what are the odds, right? Small world. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like, look, man, a bunch of people. If anyone is ever looking for a commentator or whatever, send them my way, man. Or if anybody's listening to this and they're like, hey, this Timmy B guy's not a total idiot. Yeah, I would love to do it, man. I'd love to try my hand at it. I think I'd be good at it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, I gotta know, you do everybody, all, different kinds, different fighters, coaches, everybody in the community across the whole world. How do you deal with the time zones?
Shit, man. You just gotta, yeah. Can I tell you, it is so hard. A lot of people don't know what time zone they're in. You ask someone what time zone they're in, they're like, I don't know. I live in Vermont. They don't know. Yeah, you just gotta. I luckily I have enough of a flexible schedule. All my co-hosts that I've had have normally been very flexible with me and excellent in that regard. So that's not normally been a problem. The toughest is when I get people in Australia or, South Korea, like when it's on the other side of the world and it's like a 12-hour difference. That's the hardest. Because to try and figure that out is really tough. But yeah, you just make it work, man. I mean, there's going to be guests where sometimes it just is impossible. But for the most part, I've done a lot of people in the Philippines or Australia and stuff like that. And my 10 a.m. is their 10 p.m. So you just got to find that sweet spot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Up at 3 a.m. in the morning to do a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I'm not doing that. I did have one time I was doing a interview with UFC fighter Jeon Kim, South Korean, and her translator was in South Korea, and he was coming on at I think it was 3 a.m. his time, and so he was quite the sleepy fellow, but we made it work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I love to ask all my guests this. This isn't part of the final three, but I do.
Oh, okay.
It's a great question to ask.
Yeah, pasta.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna screw that up again, man. I'm ready.
That's it. In terms of inspirations and role models, can you talk about some people that have inspired you for this podcast, and who have your biggest role models been?
Specifically for podcasting.
You can go off just in
Oscar.
life.
Well, no, I would say, for podcasting and for putting together a unique show, I would say Howard Stern. Obviously, I was a big Howard Stern listener when I was in university, like listening to his radio show and stuff like that. So I always appreciated how he was able to interview people and get out good stories that nobody else could. So I liked Howard Stern. I'd say he's probably an inspiration. I would say there's a commentator. He used to commentate exclusively or predominantly for Invicta FC, but TJ DeSantis. He's a commentator with a very cool voice and just such great professionalism. I do take a lot of inspiration from him. Dan the Outlaw Hardy.
Yes.
The English commentator. I love that dude. I always thought that he's one of the best. I'm so mad that that he had his falling out with the UFC, because I always thought that he was one of the best commentators. Him and John Gooden I had on my show. So both those guys, I thought they always brought a very cool professionalism to the work that they did. So I like them. And then the last one I'd say is probably Ashley Evans Smith, Rebel Girl, UFC fighter. She has a podcast called Sex and Violence. Very cool podcast, and was one of the podcasts that I was listening to quite a bit when I began mine. So to say that one probably didn't influence, a lot of how I ran things and how I kind of managed the show and stuff like that one probably gave me a lot as well. Same as and I would say Michael Bisping's podcast, the Believe You Me podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not a great fan of that show, especially not now. I don't like him having Anthony Smith as co-host. I do not like that pairing. But before, when he started it and he had a comedian, Louis J. Gomez, on, that I really liked. I liked how the Louis J. Gomez was not a fighter, that he was not crazy. He was into it a lot, but he wasn't super knowledgeable. And it's like, you don't need that. You just need a guy who's funny. You need a guy who's, got a good voice on the mic and who obviously was a broadcast professional. And so I think that lent me a lot of inspiration as well, in terms of like what you want your dynamic to be with your co-host.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say those are the individuals probably.
No Joe Rogan.
No. No. Not for any bad reason or anything like that. Just I'm thinking about people that were more, maybe a little bit different. Obviously, he paved the way for podcasts to be a thing, but I think the individuals that I said probably give a little bit more uniqueness to their show, or have a little bit more of a je ne sais quoi about who they are, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last one before I get into kind of my closing questions here. The sponsors, right? You have, is it Magic Mind?
Yeah, shout out to magicmind.com. Go to magicmind.com/fightinsight and use code fightinsight20 to save 20%. Yeah, I have sponsors here and there. Sponsors here and there right now. I think my stuff with Magic Mind has kind of ended, although I do love them and I wish them all the best, and go back and listen to that smooth, edit there, and go check them out. But yeah, no, I've had sponsors here and there. Why? What do you want to know?
No, I mean, is that something that you're actively looking for? How do you get them? Do you approach you? What's your go-to? Because funny enough, mine, it probably actually won't be on the intro for this unless we extend it, which I don't think's happening. But my sponsor up too, so I'm curious.
Yeah, no. So, sometimes they come to us. Sometimes we go to them. It's shit, man. For me, this is not about making money. This is about having fun and enjoying it. And if I feel like I'm too reined in by a sponsor or something like that, then I kind of bail out. I also will not promote something that is not good. You know what I mean? Like, I had a company reach out and they were like, "Oh, we want you to sponsor our product or whatever." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like, send me your product, and then let me, I'll display it on the podcast, wear it on the podcast, blah, 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 whatever it is. And we can go from there." And then they sent me the product and it was so horrible. Like, it was really bad.
Oh no.
And so I called them and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I cannot promote this. Let me send this back to you." Like, so, and then from there too, I really realized, like, any kind of sponsor that works with me on the show or whatever, I say to them like, "Hey, if I'm not keen on your stuff or whatever, then this deal is done." Like, there's no, you're not holding me hostage on this. So yeah, no, I reach out to people if I can. Some people come to me if I have one for the week or for the month or for the period of time. That's cool, but it's not always a 100% necessity to me.
Yes. You ever heard of a Warrior Fight Store?
Yeah, man. I go out to that dude. That's where I buy most of my crap, out in Pickering.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not on sponsoring your podcast.
Are they sponsoring yours?
They're not sponsoring mine.
Have you asked them to?
They do sponsor me personally, so.
Well, you know what? I asked them to consider sponsoring me and stuff like that at the early stages, and they did not.
Yes.
And I've never gone back to them since, because I'm a petty person that holds grudges.
Yeah.
And no, those dudes are awesome, man. I love that store. Frick, I used to, predominantly get all my Christmas gifts from that store. Yeah, no, they've never reached out, or I've never reached out since. And yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, next time I'm in there, I'm dropping.
Tell them, man. Tell them.
That's it. Yeah, I'm telling them. But
tell them I'm coming. Yeah.
well, I've got 3 questions I ask every one of my guests. Can I ask them to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I lied. I have a special one just for you.
Oh, shit.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for this. Let's do it.
How happy are you from 1 to 10?
Say it again?
How happy are you from 1 to
Oh, shit. It's funny. Nobody has ever asked me that. I mean, not in forever. I don't know, dude. Uh, Honestly, maybe like a 6, a 7. You know, there's a lot of weird crap going on, man. So I'd probably say a 6 or 7. I think there's a lot of things that could probably be better in my life, and that I wish were different or that could change. Like I'm so happy with certain things. I love my podcast. I love my wife. I love my cats. Um, but there's a lot of stuff going on, man, in the world around us. There's like a whole bunch of shit in the world that we live in. Um, and lots of opportunities for things. I think lots of ways that life could be better. So I gotta work on that, man.
Let me ask you this. Is there something that you could do either today or tomorrow that would improve your happiness?
No,
No.
no, I think I'm thinking about happiness more on a whole. Like could I go out and have my favorite meal? You know, could I get an amazing pizza at Slice of Fire in Markham? Who might be naming a pizza after our podcast? That's that's
Woo!
that's a goal I've got going on.
There we go.
No, I don't think my happiness stems on like little little moments or things that can be done in a day. Um, no, I think it's things that I need to work on or that need to kind of change in my life that would ultimately raise it up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now for my questions. I had to
All
ask
right.
you that.
Yeah,
Right.
man. No, I appreciate it.
What 3 qualities do you possess that make you successful?
3 qualities.
Yes.
I would say 3 qualities that make me successful. Is that what you said? 3 qualities that make me successful?
Yes.
Um, I will say my ability to articulate myself or write. I feel that I'm a good writer, and I feel that that has translated into some good ways that I get noticed by people when I'm writing to them to have them come on my podcast. Or a lot of people will often take a lot of notice of the way that I introduce them on my show because I take a lot of time to write a nice introduction about them. Like the way that I articulate, the way that I say it, the way that I speak it, the way that I frame it. So I'd say that's one thing. Second thing would be I'm I don't accept. How do I say it? I don't accept poor quality. I don't know what how would you say what that is? I don't know. Like
High standards, maybe? I'm not.
yeah, but then I don't. Yeah, I guess it can kind of sound kind of negative, and maybe it is. But like, for example, like when I wanted the logo for my podcast, it took me god dang like 3 months of going back and forth with the designer because every time like I was noticing something weird with it or something wasn't working out right. So I don't. I have like yeah, like I don't accept stuff. Like I always want things to be better, but I feel that that obviously contributes to my success because I don't let things go stagnant or I don't let things go out poor.
Yeah.
Mind you, my audio quality on my podcast lately or my stupid videos not synced 1,000,000%, but I don't even understand why that's happening. And then third thing I would say, man, I guess my ability, my desire to not fall in line. Just because everybody's doing something, I'm not going to do it.
Mm,
I try to be unique. I
yeah.
guess that's it. Maybe uniqueness, like my uniqueness. I'm not scared to be unique. I'm not scared to do something different. Like I have some guy in my gym who's like kind of good with social media and stuff like that, and he's always like telling me like, hey, if you want to be bigger, you got to do this and you got to do that. But the things he's saying is like things that will make me the same as everybody else. And that's why he's saying it will make me popular. He's like, hey, if you want your reels to hit like, thousands and thousands, you got to do this. You got to put like a little video at the bottom that is like of a golf ball rolling around. Like it's not even like related to your video at all. And I'm like, well, then why the fuck would I do that? Like,
Yeah.
but he's like, but that's how the algorithm picks it up. And I'm like, well, then I guess what? I'm not interested in that. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to do things the same as everybody else just because that's going to get me more views or something like that. Like, sorry, man. Like I'm going to stay true to my values and to who I am. And I'm going to be unique for unique sake. And if it fails, I don't care. It fails, but at least it's me that failed. Right. Cause really you see these guys on Instagram that have like, 10,000 followers or whatever, but all they're doing is reposting shit. Like they're just reposting Ariel Helwani clips. And I'm like, but you did nothing for that. What is your creative outlet there? Like, what are you doing? Like, if all you care about is getting 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers, like, what is that really?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that? Like, you didn't do anything. Like, if what you're doing to be successful is what anybody else could do with zero skill, talent, or training, then I don't know why you're proud of that. No offense,
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I'd say that.
At that point, just go buy the followers, right?
Can you do that?
Yeah. There's play.
No, you get in trouble for that though. I heard there's a guy, there's a guy, one of my former guests. He's not a fighter, but I saw one time that his followers boosted, and I was like, did you do something how did you? He goes, oh yeah, I went to a service that blah blah, and I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, but they even tell you like there's a chance you're gonna get banned
Really?
yeah, because I think it's if your growth goes too crazy, if you grow too quick, too fast, they'll know, like the computer will understand that that's what's happening, and then they can ban you. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing that then, man.
So it's wild to me. So I got a rapid growth, and I assumed it was because I had my event. So my first event that
Yeah,
happened,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
went right, and then people were like, "You bought followers," and I'm like, "I didn't even know you could do that," right? So I like
yeah,
looked
yeah, yeah.
like I can tell you like it wasn't me, and then for a
Right.
while, like you know what, like people are gonna believe what they want to believe.
No, who cares, dude? Who the fuck cares? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like, and again, that's such a weird way to like judge your success and stuff like that. Again, depending on what you're doing this for. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather have 100 followers that actually like listen to my shit and follow it and like it
Yes.
than 10,000 and that gets nothing, But I don't know. It's a
I'm
weird
the,
world. It's a weird world we live in, man.
I'm the same way, and like that's what it came down to. I was like, if someone really believes that or whatever, I'm like, that's on them. Like I know what I did. I know, like
Yeah, 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 dude.
screw them. You know
Who
what I mean?
cares? Yeah, who cares? What does it matter? None of it matters, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, my next question: if you could go back in time, what is something you would tell your younger self?
I mean, lotto numbers? You want something deeper than that, I guess. What would I tell myself? I would say, again, like a non-easy financial thing, right? I guess what would I tell myself? To travel more and go see more of the world, and you know travel more, see more of the world, go out, do things. Don't get too complacent in life. Don't get too caught up in the rat race and you know working to live, you know
Yeah.
stupid term, but don't work to live to work, or no, wait, don't live to work to live. Well, I don't even know, but don't just get into that rat race and then just, do your 9 to 5 job so you can pay your mortgage so you can, wake up and do it all again. You know, go out, experience life. Material things don't matter. Uh, enjoy life more, and yeah, think about the experiences more than the possessions.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. My last one, and
I
again,
mean, maybe, fuck. young Timmy B keep that hollow Charizard and put it in a safe, you know?
Is that worth a lot of money or?
Dude, are you kidding? That's the card that Logan Paul keeps around his neck, right? It's like,
Oh, you had that?
yeah, dude, we all had that, man. Like that, like, you know, or you could have bought it at the time for like $20, right? So, yeah, get some collectibles and put them in a safe. Go do that, Timmy B. Yeah.
And this last question I love. What is something you do every day that you are proud of?
um, every day that I'm proud of. Jeez Louise, what kind of answers do you get for this? Um,
I've
what
gotten
is
a lot of cool ones, man.
what what is something I do every day that I am proud of? Man, that is a really hard question. I mean, obviously the obvious answer is tell my wife that I love her, you know? Tell my wife that I love her and take a moment to be with her. It's not a purposeful thing. It's not a purposeful thing I do, but I just do it. But I'm really proud of that, man. I'm really proud of my relationship. I'm proud of my love for my wife and for the relationship that we have and the home that we've built and stuff like that. So yeah, probably that.
Beautiful. I
Yeah.
love. Where can people find
What's
you?
the worst answer you've ever got for that?
See, the thing about that is I don't think there is a bad answer,
But
right?
did someone say like, "Oh, I trim my nails every day and I love my manicured nails"? Like,
No, no. I mean, usually, like, if somebody gives an answer like that, they go into why.
how important their manicured nails are. Yeah, yeah, I got it. All right. All
One
right, all right.
lot of is not a lot of, but again, it's all different. But one that's I would say more generalized is a meditation, or I walk, or I do activity.
Oh, but every day, shit, no, man. I mean, when I first got my Peloton bike for the first 30 days, you could have called me and I would have said, I'm proud that I'm on Peloton every day, but
Right. I
that
think,
died out quick.
yeah. I mean, I think the best one I got. Um,
Better
and,
say mine or I'm hanging up.
no, no. Hopefully, you don't punch me in the face for saying this, but
Yeah.
it's from Justin Bruckman there, and he says he gets out of bed every day, no matter how tough it is. He
Uh,
gets out of bed, right? And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he kind of went in a little bit deep on it. If you want more, you got to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. I will go back and listen to
But
it. Yeah.
yeah, it was something that like I feel like most people wouldn't say, and he said it,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it,
yeah. Sure. Yeah.
fuck, that's good, right? That's some
Nice.
stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
anyways, where can people find you? Where can people find your podcast and any other closing comments?
Yeah, man. No, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a great time, and I do enjoy it. And if you ever want me back, I'd love to come back. If people have any interest in finding their second favorite podcast behind yours, my friend, come and find us. Fight in Sight Podcast. You can find us everywhere. Find us on Instagram at Fight in Sight Podcast. Find us on YouTube, Fight in Sight Podcast. Spotify, Fight in Sight Podcast. We're on Twitter, Fight Insight Pod. I think we're there. Doesn't matter. Once you find me one place, you'll find everywhere else. But please do come over, give my podcast a chance. Just give it one chance. Listen to one podcast. I'd really appreciate it. And then let me know that you found me through here. Tell me that this is where you found me from so I can give some shout outs back. And if you like us, tell your friends. But that's, hey, please, please, please give us a chance, give us a listen, give us a subscribe, follow, whatever. And yeah, that's it for me, man. Like I just love doing this crap. I love talking to other like-minded people like yourself, sharing stories and talking stuff. And tell Warrior Fight Store to sponsor me. you know, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I know I invited you offline, but now we're online. I want to, formally invite you to my event coming up September 30th, 182 Bowmanville Avenue. You're welcome. Come on by.
Crap, it's on the 30th, the same day as the fight.
Oh, it is. It is.
Oh,
No,
son of a gun. Okay, well, hold on. If things don't pan out and I am not in Nova Scotia on September 30th, then yeah, man, I will be at your event for sure.
Yeah. I'll FaceTime you in then.
Yeah. While I'm commentating. Yeah.
Fight event.
Yeah. What a non-professional this guy is. He's taking a FaceTime call during the fights.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Any questions for me before you leave?
No, man, I'm good. I just I hope I gave you what you wanted here, and like I said, anytime you want me back, I'd love to.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. I loved all of it. I'm gonna throw you a link tree bio in the description.
Yep.
I'll probably throw your Instagram, YouTube. Wait, is YouTube in the link tree? I didn't see it. Maybe it was.
Yeah. God, I hope it is. Yeah.
I might have just missed it. Anyways, I'll
Yeah.
there and anything else that I don't see in there, I'll try and put it in there too. So,
All right,
man,
man.
thanks for coming on, man. Have a
Thanks,
great.
brother. All the best to you.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening, guys. I really, really do appreciate you taking your time and listening to this podcast. Once again, just a quick reminder, please do like and subscribe wherever you guys get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. And like the Facebook page and also like the Instagram page as well. And don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel and the TikTok as well. Thanks again, guys.